Have you ever wondered why some people develop inflammatory bowel diseases seemingly out of nowhere, while others live for decades with a flawless digestive system? The answer to that question may not lie in expensive treatments or invasive procedures, but in something much simpler, perhaps even in your refrigerator right now. In recent years, science has discovered that the origin of various diseases is actually linked to a crucial part of our body, the gut. An organ that, until recently, was underestimated, considered just a tube where food passes through. But today, studies reveal a very different reality. The gut is, in fact, a command center for the immune, emotional, and even neurological systems. Yes, what happens inside can influence everything from your mood to your risk of developing chronic diseases. And that's why you need to pay close attention to what we're about to reveal in this video. We're diving into a natural, accessible, and surprisingly effective discovery for reducing intestinal inflammation. And it all starts with just 1 cup a day. Before we continue, if you care about your digestive health and want to naturally resolve issues like gastritis, colitis, reflux, leaky gut, or Crohn's disease, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This simple action helps YouTube show this content to those who really need it. For decades, traditional medicine has treated intestinal inflammation with a combination of anti-inflammatories, antibiotics, immunosuppressants, and in severe cases, even surgery. These treatments, while necessary in specific situations, come at a high cost. They destroy the balance of gut flora, weaken the immune system, and often just mask the symptoms without addressing the root cause. But what if, instead of fighting the symptoms, you could strengthen your body to heal your gut itself? That is exactly what some natural substances have been shown to do, and one stands out for its simplicity: raw cabbage juice. Before you frown, understand this. Cabbage is one of the most studied vegetables in the plant kingdom when it comes to digestive tract regeneration. Starting with the so-called vitamin U, a little-known name but with a deep effect. This substance isn't exactly a vitamin in the classical sense, but a compound derived from methionine with healing properties. Research conducted since the 1950s, including studies from Stanford University, showed that vitamin U can significantly accelerate the healing of gastric ulcers. Imagine an invisible coating protecting the inflamed lining of your stomach or intestines, helping the tissue recover without the side effects of traditional medications. That's what vitamin U promotes. But cabbage doesn't stop there. It is a true green pharmacy. Another important component is sulforaphane, a sulfur-containing compound that activates a factor called NRF2, a protein that regulates the expression of over 200 genes related to antioxidant defense, cellular detox, and inflammation control. And we're not just talking theory. A study published in Clinical Immunology demonstrated that sulforaphane inhibits inflammation induced by H. pylori, one of the bacteria most implicated in gastritis and ulcers. This bacterium, present in over 50% of the global population, hides in the stomach. It survives the acidic environment by releasing ammonia, a toxic substance to the mucosal cells. The persistent presence of H. pylori can lead to erosions, chronic inflammation, and even gastric cancer. But sulforaphane, unlike antibiotics, doesn't destroy the gut flora. It inhibits the bacteria without disrupting the system. And if you're thinking that this kind of action requires high doses or expensive supplements, here's what's most impressive. Homemade raw cabbage juice is enough to provide relevant amounts of these substances. Furthermore, cabbage is rich in vitamin C, and you may not know this, but this vitamin goes far beyond just helping immunity. It is essential for collagen production, and that includes the collagen in the intestinal walls. Vitamin C deficiency is directly linked to microfissures in the intestinal mucosa, allowing toxins and undigested food particles to enter the bloodstream, a process that can cause systemic inflammation known as leaky gut syndrome. This is a critical point. Most people don't realize they are suffering from chronic intestinal inflammation. Symptoms are often subtle: excessive gas, mild reflux, fatigue after meals, unexplained mood changes. But silently, the inflamed gut sabotages your immunity, interferes with serotonin production, and reduces your ability to absorb nutrients. And if that wasn't enough, here comes L-glutamine, an essential amino acid for the integrity of small intestine cells. Intestinal cells use glutamine as their main energy source. When this nutrient is deficient, the intestinal epithelium becomes vulnerable. This opens the door to inflammation, microbiome imbalance, and a cascade of problems that can evolve into autoimmune diseases. Several studies, such as the one published in the Journal of Parenteral and Enteral Nutrition, show that L-glutamine supplementation reduces intestinal permeability in patients with gastrointestinal inflammation. And guess what? Cabbage is one of the natural sources of this substance. Now, imagine the synergy between all these elements: vitamin U, sulforaphane, vitamin C, and L-glutamine, all present in a single drink, which you can prepare with a simple juicer or blender. This combination is like a therapeutic cocktail that not only relieves symptoms but restructures the intestinal environment to prevent the problem from returning. But it's important to remember, cabbage juice is only effective when raw. Cooking destroys many of its enzymes and active compounds. Therefore, the ideal is to use organic cabbage, preferably purple or dark green, and consume it right after preparation. You may be wondering, is there any risk? And the answer is, except in very specific cases, like people with severe thyroid disorders who should avoid excess raw cruciferous vegetables, cabbage juice is extremely safe. There are no significant reports of side effects when consumed in moderation. And unlike conventional medications, there is no risk of dependence or side effects in other systems of the body. More than a remedy, cabbage juice represents a rescue of ancestral wisdom. Traditional cultures have used this food as the basis of their medicinal diets. Korean kimchi, for example, is made with fermented cabbage, rich in natural probiotics. Fermentation further increases the benefits, promoting microbiome diversity and improving digestion. But don't worry, even without fermentation, raw cabbage juice alone offers an arsenal of bioactive compounds with impressive therapeutic effects. In fact, the gut microbiome itself is now one of the most fascinating fields in medical science. Recent studies published in Nature Reviews Microbiology have found that the diversity of bacteria in the gut is directly linked to the prevention of autoimmune diseases, depression, obesity, type 2 diabetes, and even certain cancers. The connection between brain and gut is so strong that many researchers already refer to the gut as the second brain. And that's not just a metaphor. Over 90% of serotonin, one of the main neurotransmitters related to mood and well-being, is produced in the gut. When this system is inflamed or out of balance, you may feel sadness, irritability, or even anxiety-like symptoms, even if the triggers aren't external. What this shows us is that taking care of the gut is taking care of the entire body. And that's where the simplicity of cabbage juice becomes so powerful. Instead of just suppressing symptoms, it acts as a restorer, promoting an environment conducive to regeneration, bacterial balance, and immune strengthening. Also worth highlighting is the direct anti-inflammatory action of this food. A study published in the Journal of Medicinal Food observed that cabbage extracts significantly reduce the production of inflammatory cytokines, chemical substances the body releases during an inflammatory process, but which, in excess, can damage tissues. This modulation of the immune response, without causing immunosuppression, is exactly what is sought in natural treatments for colitis, Crohn's disease, and other inflammatory bowel diseases. Unlike corticosteroids, which shut down the entire immune system, cabbage balances the inflammatory response without eliminating the body's defenses. Additionally, cabbage is one of the best sources of soluble and insoluble fiber among vegetables. Insoluble fibers aid in intestinal transit, preventing constipation that irritates the colon mucosa. Soluble fibers, like pectin, feed the beneficial gut bacteria, promoting the production of short-chain fatty acids, such as butyrate, which have a direct anti-inflammatory effect on the intestinal walls. With this scenario, a simple cup of juice per day can generate effects that go far beyond digestion. It can improve your energy, immunity, skin, mood. It can even reduce joint pain related to systemic inflammation. And here's a curious fact. During World War II, doctors in Europe began using cabbage juice to treat soldiers with gastric ulcers on the battlefield when conventional medications were unavailable. The results were so surprising that, after the war, the juice began to be studied in broader clinical contexts. One of the first successful clinical studies with this approach was published by Dr. Garnett Cheney from Stanford University in the 1950s, showing ulcer healing rates in just 10 days with the ingestion of cabbage juice. Decades have passed, and even today this knowledge is ignored by most conventional doctors, often because the focus is on patentable medications and not on simple solutions from nature. But that doesn't mean you need to give up modern medicine. On the contrary, the idea here is to complement. Use the best of both worlds. If you are undergoing prescribed treatment, talk to your doctor about including natural strategies like this. After all, reinforcing your body's internal healing capacity will never be a problem. Now, let's be practical. How to prepare this juice effectively? You will need half a raw cabbage, preferably organic, to avoid pesticides that can further irritate the intestinal mucosa. Wash well, cut into smaller pieces, and use a juicer or blender with a bit of filtered water. If using a blender, strain before drinking. Avoid adding sugar, citrus fruits, or any other ingredient that might compromise the juice's healing effect. Drink 1 cup per day in the morning on an empty stomach. If the inflammation is more intense, such as in cases of ulcerative colitis, active diverticulitis, or mild Crohn's disease flare-ups, you can increase to 2 or 3 cups per day, always observing how your body reacts. The ideal duration of use varies. For those with only mild symptoms, such as reflux or gas, 2 weeks of use can already make a difference. But for those with chronic inflammation, the ideal is to maintain it for a longer period, 30 to 60 days, and later, include cabbage continuously in the diet, whether in salads, lightly sautéed, or even fermented. And an important detail, purple cabbage has higher concentrations of anthocyanins, antioxidant compounds with protective cellular action. Therefore, you can alternate between green and purple to enjoy all the benefits. Now that you understand the power of this natural drink, it's time to reflect. How many of your daily symptoms have you been ignoring? That bloated feeling, heavy digestion, constant fatigue after meals. All of this may be related to an inflamed, overloaded gut, silently crying for help. You don't have to wait for a crisis to act. You can start now with a simple action. Include 1 cup of this juice in your daily routine. And more than that, observe your body, adjust your diet, reduce the intake of ultra-processed foods, refined sugars, alcohol, and gluten, all potential inflammatory triggers. What you choose to put on your plate today may determine what your health will look like in the next 10, 20, 30 years. And that's no exaggeration. Chronic intestinal inflammation is linked to cardiovascular disease, autoimmune disorders, neurodegenerative conditions, and much more. It's like a burning ember inside your body that, if not extinguished, quietly burns until it becomes something bigger. So do not underestimate the power of a simple food. Raw cabbage juice is more than a drink. It's a tool for self-care, prevention, and reconnection with your own body. And if you know someone who's constantly complaining about gastritis, reflux, colitis, or any digestive issue, share this video. Sometimes the solution is closer than we think, and just needs a little push to change someone's life. Now tell me in the comments, have you ever tried raw cabbage juice? What was your experience? Are you planning to try this recipe? Your story could inspire others. If you made it this far, congratulations. It shows you truly care about your health. So, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. In the next videos, we'll explore other natural solutions to fight chronic inflammation, strengthen the microbiome, and regenerate the body from the inside out. Health starts in the kitchen, on the plate, and in the choices you make every day. See you in the next video.